Hey everyone, this is Fish. Today's holiday episode is being released out of recording order, which wouldn't be a problem. But we made a number of references to the first episode we recorded that night, which now make no sense. Just wanted you to know that you didn't miss an episode in the feed. It's not lost. It's just being released in January. I wish you all a happy holiday season, and we'll be back to talk to you then. And now on with the episode.
Cross the line, let go of stream. I've been in Santa Bay, around the horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am your host, Andy, joined today, as always, by co-host Hannah.
Hello.
And I don't have a good one today.
What were we just talking about?
Cabinets. Our cabinet maker Fish.
I'm like, just go back.
Not a great one.
I don't know if I disappointed.
Our lacking a better name,
Yeah.
Fish. Editor, producer.
God, we're just push through it and move on.
Yeah.
All right.
This
Anyways,
died on the vine. It's fine.
they can't all be winners.
Yeah.
I'd like one of them to be at some point.
No,
I
like.
thought the last one's pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought the last one was
Flash
good.
Dance.
Yeah, Flash Mob.
Flash Mob.
Flash Dance. Love that movie.
Do not do the whole thing with the light and the
water.
Yeah,
We don't even have a bucket above my head, guys. I don't know what to do.
Just get him. He's a welder.
Anyways, what are we talking about today?
We did not segue into this
We
at all.
didn't.
But in the last episode, there was
We talked about snow.
we talked about snow. Fish kind of gave some foreshadowing, and he didn't even know he was going to.
We were talking about Boston Garden.
No.
This episode's about Boston Garden.
Andy, I have surpassed you. You will jump ahead.
Oh, you
in
jumped
the
ahead to the
episode.
next episode?
I will jump ahead to the next episode.
So
Take that.
he let out a little tune that we hear this time of year.
The
Jingle Bells?
Woman from Ipanema.
How much time on hold do you spend on hold, Andy?
I like that song.
A lot.
Jingle Bells, yes.
Oh, okay. You did Jingle Bells?
I'm in a
last
dashing
episode?
through the snow
No.
reference.
Oh, right.
And you were disgusted.
Right, you did. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
really bad joke.
It was.
But I was happy because I was
Thanks
like,
for letting us all relive that.
yeah, because I was like, that is what we're going to talk about, but I didn't want to go even further off track on that episode. It's like, let's keep going. All right.
So, anyways, Boston Garden.
No, not yet.
All right.
One day.
Callbacks to 2 weeks ago.
That I would need to obviously learn a lot about, because I was like, Bean Pot? Is that the place? Like, I had no idea.
Boston Garden doesn't have flowers? What's this?
Yeah, I was very caught off guard with that. So, it was composed by James Lord Pierpont. And I kept writing Pierpoint, and then literally I looked at like whatever I was reading. I was like, it's Pierpont? Crap. Because I was not writing the right name.
So it's Lord James what?
James Lord
James Lord.
Pierpont. So he's not a lord. Lord
just
is
his middle name.
Oh, like the singer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
I
Yes.
guess. I don't know. That was a guess. I don't really.
there is a singer called
I know.
Lord, yes.
I knew
Yeah.
that, but I don't know if it's her middle name.
I don't think it's.
I think she's only got one.
It's a real name.
Oh, okay.
So April 25th, 1822, he was born in Boston. His father was an abolitionist Unitarian church pastor.
Okay.
His name was John Pierpont, and his mother was Mary Sheldon Lord, which is where his middle name came from.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yep.
I got it.
This doesn't really make its way into the story at all, but he had several siblings. Plenty of them had kids. James Lord Pierpont is uncle to J.P. Morgan.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So his brother,
No kidding.
who was, I think, like John Junior Pierpont
is the
or whatever.
P in J.P. Morgan Pierpont?
Yes.
Get out!
Yes.
I know a factoid. I like that. I don't know why I like that, because
So the guy-
now when it comes up, I'll be like, the P stands for PowerPoint.
It's John.
Yeah.
His first, or James Pierpont Morgan.
No kidding.
And I think named from his dad, who was John's brother, and then James Pierpont, the eldest, was the grandfather. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
so yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, very interesting. Quite interesting, so much.
I know there's like no good place to add that other than like.
I
his
think you
general
added it in
family
just
vibe.
right.
Yeah, it's not like it. It's like his nephew ended up having to bail him out of jail. Like it's. So he grew up in the Boston area, but he's actually a very restless guy. And actually, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. I don't think he was the best guy.
Usually, when you get this far back in history,
Yeah.
most of them aren't. Even the good ones are like, yeah, I mean, like,
So
other than this part of their life, they were good.
yeah, so at age 14, he ran away. This isn't like the bad. I mean, this is restless and adolescent behavior.
This leads to the bad
A
part.
little wanderlusty.
Yeah, he was. He went to boarding school in Boston, but he ran away to join a whaling ship
Okay.
and work on a whaling ship. And he worked there for the better part of 10 years, and it was called the Shark. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting, like, why he's not the good guy.
No. That will come
I
up.
was trying to figure out how we were tying this to like Moby Dick.
I know, right?
I was assuming, and his buddy on that ship was Herman Melville. I mean,
They gave this one author a ride, and it ended up, they talked for a whole night about writing and songs.
And the boat was
and-
named the
whaling.
Shark.
So
Yeah.
much about whaling.
Yeah. So, better part of a decade, but definitely not a full one, because he ended up, when he was done with that, joining the Navy and being in that until he was 21. I should have read this beforehand because that's what that arrow means, but that's okay. When he was in the boarding school, he wrote his mom a letter home, talking about what a fun time he had riding in a sleigh through the snow while he was at school.
Foreshadowing.
Yes, and he must have moved away after the Navy because it talks about him coming home at some point and meeting his wife. So home to like just the Massachusetts, Boston
Well,
area.
I assume that
In the
even then,
Navy,
if
you're
you're in the Navy,
stationed
you go
somewhere.
where they tell you to.
Yeah. So
And also, you might be on a boat.
that's true. And it sounds like he was on a boat for a long time.
Sorry.
Lots of
Please
songs.
no more, Andy. We have fair use.
So,
Please.
he met his first wife there in 1845 after returning to New England. When he came back and was out of the Navy, is Millicent, and they married in 1846. They ended up having 2 kids and moving to Troy, New York, but I think they did make it back to Massachusetts. His location is a little bit hard to nail down, and it does come up as like a point of disagreement a
Like,
lot.
we didn't know where he was.
Well, it comes down to where he was for a certain event to happen to him that made him so popular.
Okay.
That gets fought about, so I'll tell you about that in a second. And this is where like you kind of start questioning his choices. So in 1849, he left his wife and children to go to the California gold rush scene.
Okay, so
Okay.
he was a 49er.
Yeah.
He was there for a handful of years, not very long, and he didn't return with anything more than what he went with. Could he have had some while he was there?
Maybe.
Maybe. But he didn't come back
So
with
he
anything.
went to California for 3 years, broke even,
Probably.
and came back.
Yep.
You know, honestly, like, that's a pretty decent trip to Vegas.
That's to say, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Don't worry.
You know what they say. What happens in
Oh,
the gold rush stays in the gold rush.
So, he didn't return with anything great. He decided that he was still restless in Massachusetts, and he left them for good in 1853 and joined his brother in Savannah, Georgia, at the church that his brother was a pastor at, and he played the organ there for a few years. His wife would pass away not long after that, leaving his 2 children up in New England, which he never went back for, and he had his grandfather take care of.
Okay, that's not awesome.
Not great.
So he did remarry not long after that. He ended up marrying the mayor of Savannah's daughter in 1856.
Part of me just want to be like, he married the mayor of Savannah.
I was right there with you. I'm like, I couldn't tell if I was really impressed by Savannah having a woman mayor or really impressed by a gay marriage in the 1840s.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think he was for it. Yeah, they stayed back up in Massachusetts with his grandfather. He did end up having, I believe, more kids with this new wife. And he was feeling the South quite a bit around this time. Wink, wink.
It's not a great time to be a big fan of the South.
Yes. So even though his father and his brother were abolitionists, they were both in the Unitarian Church and preached abolishment.
Wait,
Yep.
the brother that was in Georgia with him?
Yes, yes. James was a supporter of the Confederate Army in the Confederacy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh,
And he actually joined the Confederacy as a clerk because he believed in it so much. His brother ended up getting, I don't want to say chased out, but that's kind of the way it read. That
Like,
he had
I mean,
to
I
shut
assume
down.
if you're like a
sounds like a little bit like, I quit, you're fired kind of.
he had to go because it wasn't the spot for him. But
it seems like a real bad time to be an abolitionist preacher.
it definitely was.
Well, the brother that got gay married.
I know.
So it was definitely like a passion of his father's and his brother's,
Yeah.
but not one he took with him. He didn't seem to have like a strong bond to family,
Yeah. Well, obviously.
right?
Really, what gave you what gave you that idea? Was it abandoning his wife and children and to flee for 3 years and then never coming back for them?
Do you have
Yeah.
kids? Somewhere.
Yeah.
You have kids? I'm told.
So his father ended up serving also in the 22nd Massachusetts Infantry as their pastor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And this, because of all this movement and everywhere he was, so he went to California for a little bit. He was in New York. He was in Massachusetts. He was in Georgia. The area or the place that Jingle Bells was written is a highly contested topic. It's like, you know how P-Town's like, no, first landing happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So between Savannah and Medford, Massachusetts, there's a tight grip on.
Where it was written?
Jingle
Yeah.
Bells was written. Yeah.
So-
See that?
Here's the thing,
Savannah's
though.
like, it was written here, and Medford's like, you weren't even part of the country.
Yeah. Well,
It's that moment of
Yeah.
like, look, the man did one good thing in his life. Now we're fighting over it.
so
I suppose that's a terrible thing to say about his kids, but still.
the city of Savannah claims it. Obviously, they even have a plaque
Yeah.
claiming that it was written there. But so does Medford. And now, when we think about what would have inspired Jingle Bells, probably not Savannah, Georgia.
No. Dashing through the snow.
I mean,
Awesome sleigh.
I will
Through
acknowledge
the
that.
fields we go. Fields, baby.
Yeah.
Laughing all the way? No.
No. Sorry.
Georgians don't laugh.
It's known.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
So, and I think because of the timing of it actually being written and by the time it was published, it was like several years. So,
So it was probably like written in Medford, maybe published in Savannah.
it was like published
No,
by the time it was
yeah.
published. He was living in Savannah.
Yeah. Written in Medford, carried it with him to California.
Yeah.
Had it down in Georgia. Had it in his pocket while he was marching with the Confederate Army. And then at some point,
He was a clerk. He probably wasn't marching.
they make you tag. Like if you're clerking, you still have to tag along.
I guess.
So, Medford says that they actually have like the pub that he wrote it in. It was the Simpson Tavern, and
Of course, the Simpsons did it first.
yes, and they said he wrote it, on an inspiring night, so maybe a little snow out, and he was just sitting there nursing a drink.
I
And,
gotta say, usually when I'm inspired at a bar, I don't really care what's going on outside.
well, he was a writer. He was a composer, and he wrote songs and poems and stuff like that. So for him, that would have been his jam, especially back then. It's not like TV or anything.
That's like the cutting edge song. That's like corn.
So it was around 1850-ish that they think it was written, but it wasn't published until 1857. And it was actually published under the name One Horse Open Sleigh.
Really?
Yes, before it was Jingle Bells. It did eventually get the name Jingle Bells.
Try it.
Jingle Bells. Jingle Bells. And that actually boosted it into
It's
popularity.
a far better name.
Till yeah, I mean, One Horse Open Sleigh is a mouthful, but we also have like chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Like there's like plenty of sentence long
I guess.
Santa Claus is coming to
Yeah, but at
town.
least
But I
That's
feel
like
like Jingle
the fir-
Bells is like the go-to Christmas carol.
Which
Yeah.
is kind of weird because I don't think it's a Christmas carol.
So glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it is.
There's no mention of Christmas.
Yeah, like you only sing it around Christmas.
Yeah, I know, but it's literally doesn't mention Christmas once.
Like I think technically it was like a Thanksgiving song.
It was like a kind of a beginning of winter song.
Yeah.
Listeners, they're lying. It's a Christmas
I'm really
carol.
not. That's one of the things I was reading
Look,
about.
I understand it
All
doesn't
I'm-
say
Look,
Christmas.
all I'm saying is there are 3 people on this podcast. One of whom did the research.
Yeah, that
I know
doesn't
whose
make her
side I'm
right.
on. That's literally how you were writing and you look things up. That's
No,
how cats have elbows.
I
move on.
guarantee there's uncles all throughout Thanksgiving that did their own research at Thanksgiving that you would disagree with. That just because they did the research, they're not right.
Yeah, I know, but Hannah actually knows
Okay.
how to do research.
So
Just saying.
it was originally had
Christmas Carol.
all right. It had 3 different verses that we don't hear.
Oh, okay. They're all the ones about Christmas.
They don't. They don't.
Probably
no.
all the ones that are very pro-slavery.
They also are not really, but they are risque in the sense where, like, I think it's talking about like not like drinking and riding, but like kind of drinking and riding a sleigh.
Is that-
and then
I mean,
like going
I'm
off
sure some of
course and getting crashed into a snowbank, and like your sleigh crashing.
Isn't that like a Pearl Jam song?
Yes.
I feel like it is.
And then so that's like the idea of like the rest of the song. So it is about
Really?
the sleigh ride, but it's about like also it like
So it's like tragic?
takes a turn kind of, but it's still cheery and not like tragic, like no one dies
Oh, okay.
or anything like that. But we usually just hear the verse dashing through the snow. Yeah.
All the fields we go, on the way.
Ah.
Bells on bobtails? What is that?
Ring.
Oh, is that
A
like
bobtail's the horse's tail.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been cut short, so
Okay.
it's been bobbed.
I got that. As soon as I said it, I got
Yeah.
it.
Explain for the audience, not for the co-host.
So there's a couple really big things from this song.
Okay.
It's made some historical like moments in time. It was first recorded on an Edison cylinder in 1889.
Okay.
It's the most recorded song like ever.
That makes sense.
Think of like how many people.
Like
Make
everyone
Christmas
has-
albums
Yes.
and put this on it?
Yeah,
Making it a Christmas carol?
I know.
I'm going to die on this hill.
But who hasn't? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that it doesn't actually say Christmas
Oh no,
in it,
it
at
is a
all.
No, that
Christmas
I
carol
got.
now. It just
Yeah.
wasn't at the time.
Right.
All right.
Things change.
And,
Agree to disagree.
And I feel like Fish might know this fact about the song. Something that happened in space. Do you not know this one?
Wait, didn't they play it on the moon?
It's,
Or like in? Oh
Were they on
God,
the moon at Christmas?
no.
no! I think it was
the
that, or
space
like
station,
it was
right?
in orbit, or
was in orbit.
They played
Yeah.
it in orbit.
It's the first song to be broadcasted from space,
Oh, okay.
like over the radio. They had just been talking up until that point, but it was a prank that Gemini 6 played with, who did they talk to?
Ground control
Yeah,
and Major Tom.
NASA, whatever. And they were playing a prank on them, and they snuck bells and harmonicas onto
Oh,
the
yeah.
thing.
Those crafty astronauts
Those
used to
crafty-
do that stuff like that.
Yeah.
With their stealth harmonicas.
We really got them.
Yeah.
And they played Jingle Bells, and it was,
The weird part is, I
first
bet you
song.
there was someone at ground control who was super mad about it.
yeah, that's what I mean. They're
It's like,
"Nah,
you've
it's all
needed
bad
how
on."
much time I spent doing the math on this launch, and you guys are smuggling 2.38 grams.
Yeah.
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 And also, he hates Jingle Bells. He is very much more of an Oh Holy Night guy.
The person who
Yes.
had to hear this and be upset from
Yes, this imaginary person that we just made up.
Houston,
Yep.
whatever. Right? Isn't it like they
Yeah,
leave from
it's
Florida and talk
Yeah,
to
talk to
Houston?
Houston, yeah.
Okay. And there was something else. I think it's like one of the most played songs ever, obviously.
Well, it's super easy to play. So like
Yeah.
every high school,
But even like
every, like,
radio,
elementary school band.
Yeah,
plays.
Radio
it's like
plays,
it's
so-
like the
Oh,
it's also
Yeah.
like the first Christmas song you ever learn, and everyone knows how to play it.
Yes, I know how to play it on the piano. And then he wrote many songs in his time that had like quite the little, I don't know,
They let who let the dogs out?
discography. No, that wasn't. But none of which had the success of Jingle Bells.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Does any other ones that we would know?
No, I like looked at a few and I was like, I don't.
I mean,
Yeah.
They were like, this one was kind of popular.
it's
I don't know
like
what that is.
I mean, admittedly, he's a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
But you get 160 years out of any song that is.
Yeah.
Like, he had one good song, but it was I can't even call it a banger because it's Jingle Bells, but like it.
Yeah.
It was a ringer.
Hey.
It was better than your joke last time.
But yeah, he had plenty of songs. He did end up dying in the South, so he remained in the South.
Yeah, they can keep him.
Yep. Then he died in Florida in a very ironic town in Florida, Winter Haven.
Oh, I'm like Jingle. No, no.
And he died August 5th, 1893, almost into the 1900s,
Yeah.
which I'm like, he's like, that's one of those weird, the guy who wrote Jingle Bells, which feels like a bajillion years old, was alive when, like, whatever. You know what I mean?
I
It's like
love
one of
those, like, oh, this gives a weird perspective of time.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
feels like
Like
that.
Anne Frank and Martin Luther King were the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, yeah.
But yeah, so it was interesting to find out that he kind of sucked as a person.
Yeah, he didn't sound
You know
like
what?
an awesome person.
I will argue that the kinda is unnecessary.
Yeah. And then
Join the Confederate Army is pretty much. Yeah, you're from Massachusetts, dude. You're a bad person.
yeah.
I don't know if abandon your kids is the right word, but
Look, I am
like he might have provided for them. I don't know.
I am fairly sure that once their mother passed away and you were the only parent, and you said, "Dad, you got this." You've no.
Yeah.
Like, and then you got married again, and
Which
then
is fine, but like
and then still left the kids up there.
Yeah.
Like that is.
so he
not
found
great.
home in Savannah, and maybe he would appreciate the plaque there more than up in Massachusetts based off the life he led. However,
That doesn't work for this podcast.
no, it doesn't.
Not
So
at all.
Medford claims it. I get where why Medford would like have the stake in that. It obviously was written
Oh, for
about
sure.
Massachusetts.
It's obviously written about like a snowy winter, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
isn't really a Georgia thing.
No, not at all.
No.
I've been to Savannah, Georgia. It is
Not snowy.
very not snowy at all.
I've heard it's lovely.
It is very nice. Lots of Spanish moss.
Yeah.
It reminded me kind of Salem.
It makes sense. It's supposed to be like it's got a whole rep
like
of being
the colonial.
It's also got a whole rep of being like super haunted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that same idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was funny to find out that stuff about him. And
Yeah, it's interesting.
Didn't say like how he died. One of the weird facts too that I saw.
He jingled the whole way.
It was like an article. It was like 8 unknown things you didn't know about Jingle Bells, something like that.
yeah.
There's a theory, which I think in this time could have happened to a lot of songs, unfortunately. They think one of the first times it was like performed was by a group of guys, singers, like a choral group that performed strictly in like blackface.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, Yeah, I can see that happening to a lot of songs at the time.
That's just a side effect of it being the mid-19th century where, like today, that is absolutely not okay.
Yeah.
At the time,
I don't think it makes,
they just didn't care
unfortunately,
enough.
I don't think it makes Jingle Bells stand out because I feel like they probably performed
think
a lot of
they're-
songs.
yeah.
Right.
I don't think there's anything special about. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless it was like James Pierpont was like, you know what, I'd like to see this performed.
Which is possible.
Seems on brand for him.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't even registered as something inappropriate back then. So
No.
wasn't anything that I felt like I even had to write down, but it was just one of those like, oh, if I remember to mention that. But I'm sure it happened a lot.
Probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And then his parents are still buried up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe they're in Mount Auburn Cemetery in Boston. I know his mom is.
Yeah.
Forget what that said.
Assume
That I
dad
would
would-
assume they're
yeah.
together.
I mean, I just like that you said still buried as if, like, they generally don't move them.
Well, we have done an episode on it.
I mean, yeah, but, like, the cemetery's still there.
There are zombies.
No, the
No.
body snatchers.
Like,
No.
we are
And it would have been around that time.
Yeah.
we
Right.
assume they're still buried there.
That's
We haven't,
true.
like, nobody's
Yeah.
checked.
I think they're still buried there.
Nobody's poked around
Yeah.
and, like,
Cannot confirm.
Yeah.
yet. We'll investigate.
Mount Auburn is definitely one of those.
Wait, are we digging up a grave?
No.
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 One of the Mount Auburn's one of those cemeteries that would be cool to do an episode on, though.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I've been there. It's really cool.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's
Oh,
like
cool.
very interesting crypts and
Check back for
Yeah.
our combined episode of Boston Garden Mount Auburn Cemetery.
we'll get them all done at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the guy who wrote Jingle Bells, and he's from here.
Is it public domain now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think Gwen Stefani's the most recent recorder of it. She just
Yeah.
released a version she did it with like 2 other guys that's playing on the radio right now.
But not the guys from No Doubt, so I don't really care.
Yeah, no. And plenty of people have
We should
put
close
it
out
up
with
there.
that song.
Andy?
It's public domain.
Andy?
Not the Gwen Stefani one.
For
I mean, just-
okay, like, I'll put it in, but I'm not singing. I feel like...
No. You
Just
totally
find, like-
misunderstood
Just
what I
find,
meant.
like
yeah.
a musical one.
Yeah, I
I
meant
will,
just,
Yeah, I will plug it into the
assuming
end.
this is going to be like the Christmas episode.
Yes,
No.
yeah.
This is going to be the first episode of the new year.
It is?
Why would that makes
think.
no sense. You understand they
There's-
don't have to go up in order, right?
I'm pretty sure that if we refer back to an episode we recorded, it kind of does.
No, doesn't.
It's like, why
This makes sense for being the Christmas episode.
I know,
the
but
other
we
one does
recorded
not.
second. Blame...
Yeah, but you don't have to put them up that way.
That's how I work.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can change that. That it makes sense to make this
That's
the
all
Christmas-
right.
Make
It's
it the
just a
Christmas
couple days
episode.
after. It would just be a couple days after, right? Because we haven't put out a December episode yet.
Yeah, we did.
did?
Last week.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah, we're like 2 weeks into December. Yeah,
Damn it!
yeah.
I forgot
Make
about
this
that
a Christmas episode. Put it up. Just
It's
do it.
okay.
You'll live through it. It'll be fine.
I don't think there's a few things
I don't
that
think
probably
it-
won't make sense. Honestly, I'm kind
tell
of
if-
with fish on this.
I can't
one.
tell if Andy both does and doesn't understand the amount of, like, psychological stress he's trying to put me under.
Oh no, I know exactly how much.
Yeah, so you know it's going
So-
in January.
So this is
okay,
the part
though.
where we stop talking. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.